So you made the best ball playoffs, but did you have Zay Jones? What about Jerick McKinnon? KJ Osborne? Did you have any of the guys, dare I say, that you needed in week 15? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but we're here to sweat the teams that maybe had those guys and tilt the teams that didn't, and tilt a little bit of, sometimes you run bad on the teams in your pod in the playoffs. Myself and Rob Coakley, we're here to break it all down right now. Week 15, instant live tilt on Spike Week.
Why are the Bucks the most painful team in the planet to watch? It just hurts.
So I got that game. I have a multi TV setup in the little man cave setup. So one TV gets the sound. Put Bucks Bengals on there because all the afternoon games were so bad that, of course, the Bucks Bengals gets the main TV. And listening to Romo talk so highly for the whole first half about this is the best the Bucks have played all year. And I mean, he wasn't wrong, but it was like, they look good. Look at this. They're scoring, blah, 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 blah. Second half. And he's just like, yep, this is the Bucks. This is who we thought the Bucks were. Just useless. They're just absolutely useless. Whole team. Brady, Evans, Lenny, just pathetic. That team is pathetic.
They are pathetic. And I, of course, onslaughted Tom Brady for an afternoon only slate because I just figured everyone was going Herbert. And we're in the top 50 still, but we were like in good shape. And then the Bucks do the Bucks thing and forget how to play football.
Brady had like 16 fantasy points in the first half or something like that. Like the best start he's had to a game all season, basically. And they have basically not moved the ball and turned it over 3 times or whatever it was in the second half. But we're not here to talk about the Bucks. What we are here to talk about is, I mean, maybe there'll be a little Bucks in there for some of the people here, but what has happened to I do need Rachaad White. What has happened to your best ball teams today? Kind of one of the more fun days I can remember, actually, from a best ball perspective. I'm a little bit biased because, I have lots of Eagles, lots of Chiefs, Jaguars, right? Trevor Lawrence and Zay Jones. And so, being a 0 RB bro today was pretty good. Capped off by right before we went live, Ramondre turning his game into a smash despite he didn't even start the game. Very weird. Just a overall weird day of games. But it feels to me, my main takeaway as we're live sweating this is there's a handful of guys that are going to be so have such outsized ownership in the next round that if you are able to get some teams through, we'll definitely be pulling up some teams and such here on the show, where if you were able to sneak maybe some guys through today that didn't go nuts, I think that's a big thing we're going to be talking about over the course of the next week. You know what I mean?
I think we should start with a positive note. Do you have a team that you're excited about that has gotten through today? Hey, I guess anything can happen, but I'm sure that you have some teams that you're looking at. They're like, okay, this team's pretty safe. Is there one that you really like?
One in particular that got the old KJ Osborne hammer yesterday that I've been monitoring. It's one of those where I've been, you don't want to get attached to teams or whatever over the course of the best ball season, but this one is when it has a lot of really good players, really legit high ups. So again, I'm a little more of a 0 RB bro, but this team has Jefferson, Tyreek, Waddle. I'm trying to remember some other wide receivers, just really good wide receivers. Got Darren Waller back today, has Gerald Everett and Darren Waller at tight end. So enough juice to be dangerous. Hang in there with Kelsey, get the Waller touchdown today. And it doesn't have the smash quarterbacks. Now it has, as you see here, good old boy Kirk Cousins pushing me through, and so Tua pushes me through the regular season basically, and Kirk Cousins pushes me through round one. But to get, so it got an Tyler Algier was the savior at running back for me on this particular team. But it has Travis Etienne, it has Miles Sanders. I don't know that Kareem Hunt will be anything, but he's alive and walking. He's a person that's active on game days, touching the football. Isaiah Spiller is useless, but Donta Foreman also hasn't done it lately. But so it's like, dude, if any of my teams have Foreman, Algier, Hunt, Sanders, and ETN, that's like a good running back room for me, like really, really good. And so to have that with Jefferson, Tyreek, it's basically a Vikings double stack and a Dolphins double stack. Jefferson, Tyreek, Waddle, and then Osborne down here. Josh Palmer, whatever. I know Ayuk didn't do anything this week, but still pretty excited about Ayuk. Sutton hurt, but who knows? Maybe he can come back and help. And then Waller and Everett. So it's like to be basically entirely healthy and have like a lot of good players on good offenses. It's easy to be attached to this one because it just went ham with like Osborne and the Vikings and Dolphins and everything. But I'm pretty excited for this one. This is the one I've been kind of monitoring. This also, the thing that's been absolutely making me tilt my face off today is this team has been like getting really pushed by two teams, not one team, two. There were 3 KJ Osborne teams in this pod.
No.
Yes,
Really?
three KJ Osborne teams. One guy had CMC, Kittle, and Osborne yesterday. I'm sitting here like, I have a fucking Cousins, Jefferson, Osborne stack, and I was a dog to advance, I think, yesterday. Like this guy also had, I almost borderline feel bad. If it wasn't me making money, I might feel bad. This guy had CMC, Ken Walker, Josh Jacobs, Ramondre, and Jamal Williams at running back. Got the KJ Osborne game, has like good wide receivers, and Kittle. And he's going to lose to me. But it's like, man, that whole pod, this team and everything is like the perfect, example for me of like just how crazy these goddamn best ball playoffs are. Like, on one hand, you would think the team that I have is just destroying souls and like I'm not even sweating it, but I've been sweating it all day. And the other guy who I'm, mostly competing with has like one of the best teams I've ever seen, and he's not even going to advance. So just crazy.
The pods can be crazy. I'm looking at a team right now. Unfortunately, I can't get my draft IQ to work right now. I'm going to blame Hacker because that's who I like to blame for things. I have a team that's 146 points, which, I mean, it's not like it's a monster team, but that's been pretty good to be in like the top 2 to 3 spots. It's in 5th right now, and it can't advance because I'm going to take a 0 at tight end because of Goddard and
Goddard. That sucked.
Goddard and Freiermuth. So Freiermuth even more so sucks, right?
Yeah, at least he played. Yeah.
But my point of it is just like the pods are interesting in that respect, where that team could be in 1st in a bunch of pods, and it's in 5th right here, and it's dead. I'm excited because the big dog team's advancing. The one I've been monitoring for the whole year, it's in 1st right now. I don't think it's going to drop out of 2nd. I don't think it's going to drop out of 1st, to be honest. Ramondre helped out a ton with that. And we're using an MVS score, which is fun. I like that we're using an MVS score to advance the team. And so that's a lot of fun that's going to get through. And then we have to just finish in the top 2 next week on that. I just think the team's a freaking wagon. So, anything can happen, and there's going to be probably more Hurts teams this time that get through, but it's going to be Hurts. It's going to be Mahomes. It's going to be Cousins. Some of these teams are going to get wiped out because of some of these quarterback performances. And I'm pretty excited about that. How many BBM teams do you have advancing at the moment?
I will look really quick. One thing I was just going to add while I'm looking that up, just while I'm thinking about it, I got one DK $555 team into the playoffs here. Let me see if I can.
Oh yeah, let's
open. It's advancing right now. Dropped a nice almost 190 piece in a 6-man field. It's a Cooper Kupp team.
Nice.
It's a
Nice.
Cooper Cup. So moving on to the semis with the Cooper Cup team. But as you see quickly here, it has McKinnon. It has obviously the loser that is Miles. But I mean, Lawrence and Hurts. So I was getting 35 at quarterback regardless. Got Zay. So if you have Zay, McKinnon, Hurts, AJB, Devonta, Christian Kirk I think Christian Kirk ended up being my flex. Like, so I'm kind of like, so next week is either 5 or 6 man pods in the 555. And it's like, obviously you don't feel super live having Cooper Kupp as your first round pick in these, but like in such a small field, man, anything can happen. And like, I don't have really any true hopes for Mark Andrews, but I'd have to imagine I'm going to be the only Mark Andrews team. And so if we do possibly get any form of a Mark Andrews game, right? And then I just have enough live bodies, MVS, Hollywood, etc., that I'm again, and maybe Khalil Herbert will come back next week. There's reasons for optimism. And then the other, I was monitoring 1 or 2 BBM teams, and then that 555 team, and then the single entry 333 on DraftKings, which I'm also advancing, which I'm even more excited about this team because it's like actually really live. It's a Diggs and Adams team. So it's not, it's not a dead Cooper Kupp team. I really only lost like Bateman, I think, on this team. The tight ends are not great, but it's 3 live bodies.
Right.
Got Zay, got MVS, right? Got Gabe, Diggs, Devontae, again, McKinnon, Ramondre, Pollard, AJ Dillon. So it actually has a little more juice at running back. And so again, in a small field, I've been mostly monitoring those, like your big dog team.
Yeah.
These like smaller field ones, because, I love to sweat the BBMs and the millies and all that kind of stuff, but I'll worry about that probably mostly next week when we're on this show. Like, please God, let me sneak a team into the finals. But these small field ones is like, dude, it's huge if you can get through. Big dog and these DK ones, if you can get through in these small field tournaments, you're a legit live. I mean, you're in the final, really small field already just by making the semifinals.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be doing a few more of those. I'm not going to go nuts on them next year, but I'll be doing some more of the big buy-ins next year for sure is my plan, because they are a lot of fun to monitor. What also is fun to monitor is the LA Chargers just blowing this game.
They're so bad. They're so bad.
It's unbelievable, right?
Someone just said the Raiders scored.
Too. Yeah, Keelan Cole scored.
Keelan Cole.
It's under review. Oh, he might be out. He actually might be out. He's looking like
fading Jacobs. I'm fading Jacobs, so I really need this game to be over, I think. Although it's tough. I need Waller, I need Devontae, but I need to fade Jacobs, so I don't really know what I want here.
I have a 5 out of 32 advancing at the moment in BBM. However, that team I brought up last week, the Mahomes Burrow with T and Chase, that is 16 points behind right now, but it still has Aaron Jones. And my second highest scoring running back is Michael Carter with 3.6. So I think
so 16 out. So you need 20 from Aaron Jones.
Yeah, around 20 from Aaron Jones, which I think is, it's possible. It would be fun for him to do that, because that team's a lot of fun. It's a Jerick McKinnon team, right? So it's Jones, Kareem Hunt, Darrell Henderson, Michael Carter, Jerick McKinnon. It's the Chase and Higgins double stack with Burrow. And it's got like Devonta Smith on it, Garrett Wilson. It's got Hunter Henry, Noah Fant, Evan Ingram, which is I think a fun trio of tight ends if you're not
definitely
one of the top ones. So I'd love to see Aaron Jones maybe get 20, as long as it doesn't bury a lot of other stuff. That's the other thing. You're like, oh, I need this team to do this, but how much is it going to bury whatever else I have?
Right. That's the pain of the sweat, right? Like, I've been rooting for, like I said, just a couple of different teams. And it was like, well, thank God for Zay Jones. He got me basically all my teams that are advancing through, but all my other teams that I was hopeful for are dead because they don't have Zay Jones dropping 30 plus as a 15th round pick or whatever. It's a very interesting time. Now it's going to get easier moving forward the next 2 weeks, but this week was an intriguing sweat. So I advanced 32 BBM teams, and I have 5 right now. Moving on, I haven't gone through and seen 2. I think are locks, so I'll get 2 for sure. But I don't know if I can get hawked down in any other ones, and I don't know if I can. I do have some Saquon on some good teams, so I think maybe if he has a good game, Gibson, Brian. I don't think I have any Brian Robinson, but like Gibson, Saquon probably is what can do it for me. Who even plays on Monday? Rams,
Green
Packers.
Bay, yeah.
So a little Higbee, a little AJ Dillon. Not much else for me in that one. So I could probably only go back, but I should have double-digit teams in the semifinals next week, pretty much no matter how this ends up here. And like, shit, dude, we were doing a show last week, and we're like, what are we gonna do if we don't get any teams through into the semifinals? And that felt like a real thing to be worried about. And so, I mean, I can't complain. Even if they all die out next week, get double-digit teams into the semifinals of all these tournaments. Some of them very live, some of them meh. I can't complain.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. There was another team that I have 163 points on. Looks like it's advancing. This team's, if it had a second running back, I mean, it does it would be just a lot of fun. But it's a Hurts Lawrence team, but it's McCaffrey with Singletary, Melvin Gordon, Darrell Henderson, D'Ernest. Like, that's rough.
Fuck. I was just looking at one of my teams that's advancing that has D'Ernest as well.
It's
Rashad
Mike
Penny,
Evans,
that's not good.
AJ Brown, Godwin, Thielen, Kirk, MVS, Zay Jones. And then there's 4 tight ends. It's Hunter Henry, Gerald Everett, Taysom Hill, Hayden Hurst, which is also a fun like tight end grouping when you have the 4. Just absolute dart throws, but that running back room is going to make it really tough to do anything at all. But yeah, we're gonna get some teams through. It's gonna be fun. I got some, and it's a variety. I'm gonna have Mahomes teams through. I'm gonna have Allen teams through.
Yeah,
Hurts.
I would say off the top of my head, it is Hurts. Of course, Hurts was my highest exposure quarterback that got through. Like almost 40% of my teams were Hurts. So obviously, he's going to be probably my highest exposure quarterback in the next round. But then the one Cousins team, Tua, Little Fields, and Mahomes. It's probably going to be pretty consolidated down to, like I said, one Cousins, but then Tua, Fields, Mahomes, Hurts will probably be my only quarterbacks left, really.
Oh my God, Burrow just threw another touchdown.
Who did he throw this touchdown to?
Wilcox.
Oh, come on.
Right. Yeah.
That's not helpful. And it tilts my Hayden Hurst shares. That only makes it worse.
Yeah. And we got 2 games that might go to overtime, which I don't think I really want too much. I'm really glad I was fading Herbert throughout most of draft season. That feels good.
It especially feels good because it felt like if the Herbert fade was ever going to hurt you, not that you even like, there probably weren't many Herbert teams that you were even facing, but if you happen to be running into, Herbert, Mike Williams stacks today, you probably felt like shit.
Yeah.
This is not the time I want to be fading those guys, and Charger's going to Charger.
Yeah. I mean, he just busted most of the year. So I don't know, dude, like just going back to like what we were talking about the season before the season started, like when Herbert's going around Lamar and Mahomes, and he was going ahead of those guys too. He was the third off the board most of the time, right after Allen. No, was he the third off the board after Allen? Second?
Third. Allen, Mahomes, Herbert was the ADP.
Okay. I mean, Lamar, Hurts always felt better. Kyler felt better. I mean, Kyler's dead, and that's going to be a not fun discussion to have next year about Kyler Murray and drafting him with the knee injury. Oh my God, you bring up the connection and it happens. The Herbert to Mike Williams connection for like 40.
Oh Jesus Christ!
They're in field goal range though.
That's good.
They're good. They'll miss it though. They're the Chargers.
Hey, Mike Williams went over to his receiving prop. We'll take it. Small wins. Small wins.
Small victories.
Live. Yes. So what are you thinking right now? Like gut take of like the second, like this next round. Have you gone through some of your pods and kind of seen some of the teams? Is there more diversity than you expect? Less diversity than on the winning teams, or like what do you think? Like it's easy to sit here and say, oh my god, McKinnon, Zay, Osborne, Jefferson, Kittle, those guys. But do you think it'll still be spread out enough to where you're not like miserable next week with like 60% of your pod having Jerick McKinnon, when you're counting on him? Or what's your expectations right now heading into next week?
I think so, because I don't think that KJ Osborne's easy to get through, in the sense that like he was a 14th, 15th round pick, somewhere in that wheelhouse. And I liked KJ Osborne. I had a decent amount of him because we knew he was capable of blow up games, right? Like we saw it last year. It happened when Thielen was out. So I liked Osborne, but it doesn't mean you got a lot of Osborne teams. There's just randomness with guys that far back, that if they get
and
through
he
or
didn't
not.
do anything, so he needed to be carried to the playoffs, as opposed to right. Like Zay is tough because Zay helped a lot of teams get there in a similar range to where Osborne went, and then he went ham. Osborne was like, he had like a 15% advance rate, so it was a coin flip if you even had another Osborne team. You had an Osborne team in your pod, so it's like we'll see. And you clearly still have to have good players around him to advance, even though he was good.
Well, the Zay teams because I don't have a ton of Zay teams that are in, but with all the Zay teams that are going to stay in, it's going to be fun if he busts next week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Ramondre is a beast. Oh my God, he fumbled. Oh my God. Please let this be how they lose this game. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Oh my God. That is the dumbest way I've ever seen somebody lose a football game in my life. There's a flag on the play. Sorry. Were you watching this?
No, I'm trying to pull it up as we speak.
So the Patriots were running the last play of the game. It's tied, right? And they're doing the whole pitch it back situation.
Yeah.
But the game's tied, so like if you're in trouble, just get down.
Wait, they're pitching it around?
Yeah,
and it's tied.
Yeah. What do you think happened?
The Raiders defense scored.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God! This is like when the kid thinks they're down by 2 at the end of a basketball game. There's like 4 seconds left. You score, and the kid thinks you're losing, but you're actually tied, and they foul. That's what the Patriots just did. And everybody in the crowd is like,
yeah,
you're the dumbest fucking person in this whole gym right now. That is the whole Patriots team.
Absolute losers.
Unbelievable.
Absolute losers.
And now we got to tilt more Josh Jacobs the next 2 weeks. They could have been like basically dead and buried today if we could have got maybe some Zamir by week 17. Now we're, oh my God, wrestle time behind me.
Yeah. They're as upset as I am about the end of this game.
Yes, exactly. Lots of tilt going on. This is a good question from Jonathan, though. So we've talked a little. Oh my God! I mean, Zay just went nuts. Osborne yesterday went nuts. McKinnon as like late round guys were so big, right? The early round guys are clearly very important, Justin Jefferson and such, but those late round guys are what make the huge difference. Getting 30 from Jerick McKinnon in the 17th, 18th round is just such a game changer. But what guys do you want to see on those teams? Right, you have a McKinnon, Zay team, Osborne, whatever, that snuck in. Kittle's on that team, that push these guys in. I know, you'll probably say Jamar Chase, but who do you want to see on those teams?
Well, good luck getting a Jamar Chase team through. I mean, he didn't have a bad day by any means, but who knows? Like if anyone's got them getting through, it's me. But I don't even know if I have any getting through at the moment. I mean, yeah, like those guys would be a lot of fun to get through. Again, to your Derrick Henry point, Christian McCaffrey, not as much anymore. So the Christian McCaffrey thing flips. It was fun to get him into the tournament, right? And then as soon as they ball, now a lot of the teams that advance are probably going to have McCaffrey. So now do you want the non-McCaffrey team? We do these mental gymnastics. Unfortunately, we have no control over what we're doing. So your Justin Jefferson teams are going to be plentiful in the next round. I think more so than wanting players through, you might want some leverage points on guys like that more so than getting guys through. Now, there's probably guys here and there. Darren Waller feels fun. Someone brought up Darren Waller in the chat. I have a 2%. I don't even know if my Waller team's getting through right now. But if you're getting a Darren Waller team through to the second round over these Kittle performances, you know what? Kelsey might be a fun one to get through to the second round now. That big team you have with Andrews might be a fun guy, even more so to get through. So some of these elite tight ends, because Kittle's ownership's going to go up. Russell Gage touchdown. Like that's the stuff we're going to see.
2 touchdown Russell Gage game. Jesus Christ.
I can't believe 5th round Russell Gage is getting there in the first round of the playoffs.
8 for 70 and 2?
Yeah, good something Lord. Like that.
Jeez.
Remember, we were making fun of all these Russell Gage drafters, draft them in the 5th round, bust the entire season. I wasn't drafting Russell Gage, so I can't even imagine I got him through on anything. I mean, I'll double check it, but
time to find out live on air if I have any Russell Gage teams. This is either going to be really fun or really embarrassing one way or the other. Okay, this is DraftKings. 4 Russell Gage teams. Oh, look at this. We are moving on a Russell Wilson, Fat Lenny team. Shout out to Tony Pollard, Justin Jefferson, AJ
Brown. Still got McLaurin to go.
Russell Gage, Zay Jones, and Evan Ingram. So we got the T-Law, Ingram, Zay Jones stack with Russell Gage, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson. Amazing.
That Raiders TD better not have cost me a ton of money, and oh my God, it cost me money. God damn it. Oh my God, I hate Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, even though they're the offensive guys. And yeah, the offense just did that, right? Like, what are we doing offensively? Idiots. Russell Gage, 5th round. Devin, you should be banned from playing best ball for taking a lot of Russell Gage. 5th, 6th round, Russell Gage.
When he fell, I think he was fine, but when he was going, like 6th round Russell Gage. This is early in the summer, obviously, in late in the summer, particularly on DraftKings. That's why I pulled it up here, because those are my. I knew there's like almost assuredly like no underdog teams with Russell Gage, but I did take him occasionally. Like he was like 12th, 13th round or something like that, end of summer on DraftKings, and so I think he's whatever. He's fine. I don't really like to be taking those kind of guys. But clearly I took him a few times because I got 4 Russell Gage teams here.
I've only got 3 DK teams that are advancing at the moment. One dropped to 202 ball, though. That's fun. That's Hurts, CMC, Stevenson, Zay, Waddle. Waddle's fun. Lamb, Brevin Jordan with his 1.9. Thank you for your contribution to this team.
Yeah.
Devonta Smith. Oh, it's a Zach Wilson team. That should make you happy. That's like your guy.
Yeah, Zach Wilson.
And Baker.
We got the Zach Wilson ceiling game, and he got outscored by 20. This was literally exactly what we talked about this morning. I was like, I don't know. Zach Wilson looks a little better than everyone's giving him credit for. That happened to be true, but it also happened to absolutely not matter when Jalen Hurts drops 40 and Lawrence drops 35 and Mahomes drops 40 and yesterday Allen drops 40 and Cousins drops 40.
Cousins could be an interesting one. So the quarterback thing's fun because that position is still going to be the most like diverse, probably.
Yeah, because a bunch of guys scored 30 plus, so it's like you could get there a lot of different ways. Like running back and wide receiver, it's thin. Tight end could still be a little bit diverse because like Kelsey didn't. Kittle was the best, but it's still 22 on underdog or something like that. That was like that's really good, but it wasn't like like if you got 12 from Fant, you can beat Kittle teams with 12 from Fant, right? But
But the quarterbacks can drag other quarterbacks through too. So if you have Cousins, you could drag, we talked about Herbert. The Cousins team could drag a Herbert team through for next week. And then you have
100%.
some Herbert leverage there. So that's what's fun about guys like that when your lower end quarterbacks are putting up points to drag those guys through.
You know, who could be really fun in that regard if you were able to do that, drag somebody through. Like maybe you had maybe a Lawrence is a better pairing for this guy, but if you're able to get Lamar,
yes,
against Atlanta, coming back, that's you're the only Lamar team in your pod or whatever. He could easily be the highest scoring quarterback next week. They're a mess on offense, clearly. But Lamar is Lamar. He could run for 102 playing with these scrubby wide receivers. And it should help Andrews too if Lamar is back. So like if you were able to somehow sneak like a Lamar Andrews stack into next week, I think that's a pretty fun team to be monitoring. I don't know that there's a soul on the planet that was able to do that, but that's the example at least.
I snuck a Russell Wilson team through with Jalen Hurts, so that's fun. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, Russ is basically the same thing as Lamar. You get him through to the next round, he's going to win it for you. Didn't you see the last game Russ played?
Buddy, have you ever seen anyone knocked out as bad as he was knocked out in that game?
No, very rarely. Like, it's top 5, top 10 for sure. It was over. I can't believe he got cleared.
Yeah,
the Broncos. So the protocol. He got cleared through the protocol, and the Broncos basically said, "Fuck your protocol. Yeah. There's no way we're playing this dude." Like he just got knocked the fuck out. We're not playing this dude. So it tells you.
As much as we've dunked on them all year, the Broncos, good for them for doing that. When we got Devonta Parker the same week, doing cartwheels because he's so knocked out, right? Like he's absolute. And Nelson Aguilar. What a teammate to see it and not let that guy. This is a good point by I was inverted. Yeah, as you guys joke, but it's not going to be funny when Russ wins somebody $2 million.
I mean, his best game of the season was in the same matchup that he gets in week 17. No, the Aguilar thing is great. It's nice to see that he can catch something. It's not what they paid him a lot of money to catch, but safe. He's playing safety manager as opposed to wide receiver, but that's okay. I don't remember a lot of the week 16 games. I'm trying to scroll through really quickly. I do remember the big dog after a good game, not amazing game. He's an interesting guy if you were able to sneak him through also into week 16, gets the lowly Texans who just gave up. I mean, McKinnon, I know it's a different way in which McKinnon got there, but like the combination of McKinnon and Pacheco both just went absolutely nuts on this Texans team. So you got to be feeling good about Derrick Henry. I was going to look at some of like the chalkier teams because somebody mentioned, so the Jags, it is interesting with the Jags. So they're going to be definitely popular, right? Going into the next round, mostly Zay, but probably Ingram too, and Lawrence, just because these are all really late round picks that have just either been good or smashing for a month now, and they get the Jets on Thursday night this week, so 3 days rest, one of the better defenses in the NFL. If a lot of people have Jags in New York, I mean, I have a lot of Jags. I know you have a lot of Jags too, but it's like one of those where like. Now the Jags next week are going to become the team where like, can we sneak them into the final? Because they get Houston in the final. And it's like, how do I get these Jags through this Jets game? Because the Jets game's not going to be pretty, but week 17 is the dream,
Yeah, week 17 is the dream. And the other dream is for them to put Sauce Gardner on Zay Jones Thursday night and let Christian Kirk do whatever he wants to do. That's my dream.
Yeah, you're the only donkey who is drafting all these Jag stacks and never taking Zay Jones. So I'll leave you to your Zay Jones FUD. Although he is absolutely going to get locked down on Thursday. There's no doubt about it. Like there's literally no doubt about it.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Like, so I guess like you still have great players theoretically in front of him. that can pick up that should be able to pick up like the missing points for him. But it's nice if you can X a big owned player out like that, just off the board. Like he comes in and he scores like 4 or 5 points, and you're just like, great, that's all I wanted to see him get.
Yep.
And 5 out of 10 of your pod or more have Zay Jones. You're probably facing Zay Jones or Osborne in 80% of your teams that you're going against this week, or close to that.
It's just wide receiver was like fine across the board, but it wasn't like Jefferson was very good. Jefferson didn't bury you. If you don't have Jefferson on a team, you can advance because he didn't score a touchdown, right? He didn't score a touchdown.
He scored one.
Yeah, he scored one. So it was really just Jefferson though. Like Chase didn't go nuts. Obviously, Cup's hurt. Devontae didn't do anything. Diggs didn't do anything. CD was good, but he didn't score a touchdown. Tyreek was good, but like didn't go totally nuts. AJ Brown was awesome, but didn't score a touchdown, right? So like all these guys are putting up like 15 to 20, most of them, which is good. You want that, but you're not dead and buried. The burials, it's so weird. Like a lot of the times the burials come from just thinking back to week 17 of last year, Jamar Chase, right? Or the running back like Rashad Penny playing the Lions. Like it's very foreseeable. This was KJ Osborne, Zay Jones, and Jerick McKinnon were the burials this week. If you didn't have any of those guys, you needed something revolving around those guys, basically, to advance. Because when you get 30-point games from a bunch of 17th round picks ish, it's like somebody in your pod's going to have those guys, and they probably have a good team because obviously they advanced. So it's tough not to have any of those guys. And so to your point, next week, you're going to be looking at lots of McKinnon, lots of Zay. I don't know about lots of Osborne, but more Osborne than there was this round. You know what I mean? The right. Osborne teams fared really well. But those are the guys you want to, like, to this whole conversation, if you sneak teams through that don't have those guys, or you're really not relying upon KJ Osborne or whatever, you're good, man. Like, that's perfect. That's where you want to be, because KJ Osborne's not going to go off again next week, knock on wood, right? Jerick McKinnon has been great for 2 weeks in a row, but like 30-point Jerick McKinnon games are not really, that's not, projectable. So it's going to be a fun week 16 when those are the guys that carried people through.
Who's San Fran got next week? It's not on any of the list that we have in front of us right now. Washington, and they're in San Fran.
Yep.
I mean, Kittle McCaffrey is going to be fun yet again.
I'm excited about Ayuk too. We talked about that last week. Where basically those three, though, if I have any of those three on teams next week, it's a little bit tougher matchup in the run game for CMC, but like then that just means he's going to catch more passes, which is like every time he catches a pass, it's half a point, or a point. So that's good. I think it could be like Ayuk would probably be near the top of the list on the guys who, like, how do I, to that whoever's question that was earlier, like, who do you want to sneak through? I think Ayuk might be one of those guys for me. He was the one Niner that didn't go nuts out of those three guys, and yet he's probably maybe CMC, but Ayuk probably directly benefits the most from a ceiling perspective without Debo. And so, like, CMC already has a ceiling. But, man, you get Ayuk through at low advance rate, he really could be the guy, because then they also get Vegas in week 17. Like, Ayuk is one of the top guys for me, I think, that I'm most excited about.
Oh, baby. I was just looking for Derrick Henry to see if I had any Derrick Henry teams advancing, because look at who he has next week at home against Houston. I have one pod where I am currently 0.66 points ahead of one Mr. DB730 in this pod, right? That I can get this Derrick Henry team through. I'm playing Jamal Williams 3 right now. I still have Cam Akers, which, could mean absolutely nothing in order to get him through, but yeah, I think we have a Derrick Henry team live for next week, and it's Mahomes, Kyler, RIP, Derrick Henry, Cam Akers, Damian Pierce, RIP, Darrell Williams, RIP, Jamal Williams, Snoop Connor, who are you? AJ Brown, D Hop, MVS, Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Josh Palmer, Alec Pierce, Wandale, George Kittle, Albert. Oh, but I mean, there's some dead players on that team for sure. But that could be a fun team to get through if Derrick Henry does go off and Cam Akers just does the stone min to do something. You know what I mean? Like gets me anything.
Oh yeah.
And rubbing
running
it
back
in Dan Bach's face is a lot of fun too.
I mean, the money's nice, but the bragging rights over Dan Bach is, if you cannot dunk on your boss, it's definitely a really smart thing to do publicly for your career.
Yep.
But B, that's way more important than the money. This is amazing. I think I have one too. That's what I was gonna try and look up. Clearly, I'm not gonna have a ton of CMC teams, but I thought I had a CMC Ayuk Kittle team just like Alex does somewhere floating around the best ball verse.
I'm just currently checking BBM. I thought I had one too that was making it through. I got a Miles Sanders making it through because of Ramondre and Algier.
He's one you mentioned, and I thought that was a really good point. It's not necessarily, there are guys like, I think like Ayuk was one guy that came to mind that I would love to sneak into the next round if possible, despite scoring 2 points or whatever he scored this week. The leverage side though of things, and I mean, I would like to have this guy because of what he's done this year anyway, but Miles Sanders is a good one. He's actually on the very first team I brought up, my cousins and Tua team. That's pretty good. Miles Sanders probably, he had a really high advance rate approaching in on 30%, and teams probably really needed him in the playoffs. And so to have him put up 4 points or whatever it was today and do nothing. Now they play the Cowboys next week, so it's not like the absolute world's best matchup, but the amount of Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta teams. So if you have Miles and you're facing a bunch of Eagles pass game stacks, that's the easiest, and you're the only Miles team. That's like the easiest leverage opportunity there is Miles Sanders.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be a fun one to get through, which would have been, I was thinking about this earlier to go back to the big dog team because that's the one I'm monitoring the most. I remember one of the two arguments me and Pete had was Miles Sanders versus Ramondre Stevenson. We were looking to pick, and I decided to overrule him. And since I had the button in my hand, I took Ramondre. And I don't know if we actually needed Ramondre to get the team through this week. And I'm like, damn, maybe we should have taken Miles, right? Because the team still would have made it through the whole year. And now Miles feels like such a leverage point to Ramondre. But I mean, that's all nitpicky, right? That's just like complete 2020 hindsight. But I like Ramondre. I like having Ramondre. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, he's awesome. He's I don't know if this is what we're looking for necessarily, in the best ball playoffs. He's just so much sturdier than Miles. I mean, you saw it today. I love Miles Sanders. He's been, like I said, maybe my MVP for my best ball portfolio this year. But Ramondre just is never going to get locked out of usable weeks. He's just always going to get usable weeks, right? Their passing game isn't good enough. There's lots of checkdowns. They run their offense through their running backs mostly. Mm-hmm. And so he's just always going to have good game. You're never going to be like, I just got buried because Ramondre scored 2.5 points. It just, no matter who's there, Damian Harris, Pierre Strong, whatever, none of that matters. Miles didn't get his first carry till the middle of the second quarter today. And it wasn't for injury. It was a little bit of fluky game script, but the Eagle, Hurts is going to keep it enough, right? He's running zone read and he keeps it. And they were just throwing the ball all over the place horribly. Hurts threw 2 picks, tons of incompletions, but sometimes that just happens for Miles Sanders, and that doesn't happen for Ramondre. So, and they both have this, both have 30-point ceilings. So,
one more team to it needs 25 from Christian Watson to get through. which, is real wish casting, but not impossible. I have a Mahomes Hurts team with Singletary, Sanders, Daryl Henderson, Michael Carter, Mostert, D'Ernest. But it's got Diggs, Higgins, Kirk, MVS, Nico, Watson, Duvernay, Watkins. But the tight ends are Kelsey and Waller. So
Kelsey Waller, good Lord.
Kelsey, Waller, Mahomes, Hurts. So you get that Christian Watson 25 point. That team's fun to get through.
100%.
For the leverage on that. I didn't do that too much with like the Mahomes Hurts, but I did it here and there. Don't know if we'll be able to do it next year.
No.
Discussion for a different day.
Tyler's got one that I thought was interesting. Pretty similar to what you were mentioning. He only has Burrow here at quarterback, but like a bunch of, mid to late round, basically those are all rookies. Yeah, those are all rookie wide receivers. That's hilarious. Literally, he drafted 2 superstar tight ends, a superstar quarterback, some old ass running backs, and a bunch of rookie wide receivers. But if that doesn't tell you the power of these rookie wide receivers, then I don't know what does. But Tyler got a Burrow team with Lenny, Connor, Jacobs. My God, the testosterone in this running back room. Cam Akers and Brian Robinson. That is the highest T. You just need Derrick Henry on there, and the T levels are through the roof on that. But like Lenny, Connor, Jacobs, Akers, Robinson, all healthy, all putting up fantasy points every single week. Kelsey and Kittle. So you have the best tight end room in every pod you get into. And then, you definitely need to run pure with these wide receivers: Olave, Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson, George Pickens, Alec Pierce, and Tyquan Thornton. But if you're going to try to run pure at this time of the year with some wide receivers, later round guys, that's a pretty goddamn good group to be trying to do it with.
Yeah, no dead bodies. There's not a dead body on that team. That's a lot of fun. And we start going through some of these teams. You get like three or four dead bodies on the team, and you're just like, I guess we got to work around this chalk outline to get it through. 235 on DK is pretty good, Devin. I also like the overreaction that we're getting to today. So like Modog's not the only one, but he's like, man, F week 17. I'm just drafting teams with late games in week 15 next year. Don't even care who the team / players are. Just the absolute overreaction to week 15. Well, then I'm just drafting guys that are playing Saturday, week 15.
I was just going to say yesterday, I'm pretty sure I probably had after a couple too many cocktails, I was like, fuck this. I'm only drafting Saturday, week 15 game stacks next year. That's going to be the whole, we're going to do video. We're going to do a shanty on the Saturday, week 15 games for next year.
So you were tilting at home with a cocktail. I forgot that I said that I would cover a shift at work back in June yesterday. So I get a call at 3 and they're like, how late are you going to be? I'm like, what are you even talking about? How late am I going to be? And so I had to rush to work. I couldn't get anything to load to watch the game. So I'm watching games on the ESPN fantasy app, just the little do down the field. Like it's a freaking NES game.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's the Game Boy. You're playing Game Boy. Yeah,
so tilting to watch it. I mean, it was fun watching. It was fun watching the Vikings come back. I did enjoy the fact that they won.
Yeah.
LOL, Indy. How do you lose that game? How do you lose that game? It's so funny.
Dude, this is a good point from Paul. You just need to stack the Jimmy G, Brock Purdy, QB2, QB3 combo is a good winning combo.
You're not going to need to, because Brady's going to be the quarterback in San Fran next year.
Yeah, what a mess. The Niners are the best team that's going to be an absolute disaster in the offseason. Like they're gonna steal the Cowboys' crown of always having drama, despite the fact that they're good in the offseason.
They're going to overreact hard, is what's going to happen.
Lance has no chance of being their quarterback, right? Like literally no chance.
I don't think you can. I mean, I don't think they can, just based on like the window that they have to win the Super Bowl. Like he didn't develop enough. I mean, he didn't look good enough in those first 3 games. They should have never lost that opening game. They've been a much better team with him off the field. Granted, it was a small sample size, but they are definitely going to overreact. And it's going to be, they're going to go looking to get Brady or Aaron Rodgers or something like that to put on this team. And both could definitely be a spot where you see Aaron Rodgers come in, win a Super Bowl with them, and retire. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility at the moment. Which is
No.
going to make best ball a lot of fun next year too.
Oh
Doing
my
this
God.
whole quarterback carousel again.
I'm not looking forward to that. Let's look at some of the week 16, because I think it's easy to sit here and say, you know, I mean, I don't know really that much what else there is to add other than you needed one of 5 quarterbacks. I think we outlined.
Yeah.
You know, you really needed one of 5 quarterbacks. I do think like I was able to sneak like maybe one to a team or something. Like if you just absolutely had the nuts around it, you might be able to sneak, you know, to a Burrow, whatever, somebody like that in. But at the end of the day, man, there were so many big quarterback scores, and then 3 in particular late round guys. I will shout out Tyler Algier, I guess, who's, you know, drafted in every single draft, really hasn't done much this entire season, and put up a big game today that was probably pretty helpful as well. I mean, I think we did this at the end of the last show where my take was basically like, what kind of teams do I want to have, like projecting forward? And I said 0 running back. And holy shit, dude, this is even crazier than I would have projected. Like a lot of the running back rooms on my teams advancing really still aren't even that good. It's just if you have McKinnon, you have Algier, you have Ramondre, Pollard, whatever, even the ones that didn't go nuts like McKinnon are matching the early round guys. Like Derrick Henry, like had a fine game, but like Algier's beating him, you know? So it's like these 0 running back teams just have a stranglehold right now kind of on fantasy.
Do you want the inverse team of that? I'm looking at my big board, and then we'll go into this week 16 stuff. I drafted for some reason a Josh Allen, Kyler, Jalen Hurts team. How that happened, I don't know, but it did happen. And it's got Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Zeke, Justin Jackson, D'Ernest. Wide receivers are in shambles. It's Allen Robinson dead, Tyler Boyd, Rondale Moore, Jarvis Landry, Mecole Hardman, Isaiah McKenzie, KJ Osborne, Wandale, Quez, Zay. So I mean, it's not as bad as it could be. It's hitting some of those late round guys that have been real good, but it's got Dallas Goedert and Hunter Henry, and it's going to advance. It's up 30 points right now, so it should be getting through. But I'm getting an Allen Hurts team through with those running backs: Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Zeke.
That's crazy.
So the wide receivers, not the best, but I think there's enough guys that have some firepower there that can do stuff, you know, to get through another week. So that's my only current big board team that's advancing at the moment.
I don't think I have any big board teams advancing, although my big board teams were straight up doo-doo, really bad. I was going to say
Corain 0R wide receiver team needs some help, but it can make it. It needs some help, but it
not dead yet. Not dead yet. I was talking to Corain a little bit today, and I shouted him out because he said Rachaad White was his. Unsurprisingly, he drafted like 50%. Rachaad White was his version of your MVS. But then he drafted a good clip of Tyler Algier, and he said Tyler Algier was like his second highest owned advancing player on Underdog, which that worked out pretty well. So I just can't. All these running backs, man, it's crazy. Like so many of these late round running backs are just smashes. Like you go into every week, like, and you have, I'm just throwing names in a hat, Pollard, Ramondre, Algier, Donta Foreman. Like it doesn't sound like that crazy, but that room can go to war against early round running backs. Like you can win, right? A Tony Pollard, Foreman could outscore Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. They did this week. Like it's crazy how running back has kind of shaken out so far this year. The only other thing I was going to say before we look at week 16 was not to keep talking about the Eagles, but from an Eagles stack perspective and from a leverage opportunity, if you were able to get Goddard through, to your point, similar to Miles Sanders, it's like Goddard really checks all the boxes. Like he's going to be clearly significantly lower owned than AJB and Devonta, who are just stone cold smashes. Hurts is going to be arguably the highest owned quarterback in week 16. And so he can, you could have Hurts with him and you still have leverage on the field because he can steal away from AJB and Devonta, and he's a tight end, which is just like having a low owned tight end with upside like him on the Eagles. It's just like, I think, like Ayuk, because of what his two teammates did, Goddard because of what his three teammates did and what Miles has done for the last few weeks, they stick out as like kind of two of the big key leverage opportunities in week 16.
I had a puppy team from the original puppy put up 188.
188 on Underdog. Good Lord.
On Underdog. And do you want to hear who the two quarterbacks are? Russell Wilson and Trevor Lawrence. Those are the quarterbacks.
That's amazing.
It's CMC, it's Ramondre, it's Algier, Jamal Williams, McKissick, Hill, Brown, Sutton, Godwin, Ayuk, Sky Moore, Zay, Kendrick Bourne, Dawson Knox, Gronk, Albert O. It doesn't even feel like they should have put up 188, right? Like that's a crazy one. I got 5 from the puppy advancing right now, the original puppy.
That's nice. I was just looking. It reminded me, I did one and only one Best Ball Resurrection team. I drafted one team. It advanced. It is currently in first. Now it's 2 teams advanced in the Resurrection, and third places. I'm at 141.7, and so I'm basically 4 points ahead of third place. It looks really quickly like he's done. Yeah. So I think I might be close to safe, obviously pending some guys that are further down the board catching, but that's a Russell Wilson and Justin Fields team with Travis Kelce, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Sutton, Hollywood, Juju, Elijah Moore, David Bell, but had the Tyler Algier week, has Ramondre, has Singletary, has Rashad White. Shout out Zach Moss, by the way. I have some teams using the thesis of drafting Zach Moss was always that when I draft the third string running back for the Bills, he's going to end up as Jonathan Taylor's backup by week 15.
And Jonathan Taylor's going to get hurt on the first play of the game, and he's going to have to come in and play. Yeah, that was the thesis the whole time.
24 Zach Moss carries in week 15 on the Colts. Unbelievable.
I have one more team I want to say, just because I found an advancing Jamar Chase team.
There we go.
It's in the puppy. It's Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, which is fun. Zeke, Miles Sanders, Ramondre, Darrell Henderson, Raheem Mostert, Chris Evans. So Zeke, Sanders, Stevenson, Mostert isn't bad for a running back room. Jamar, AJ Brown, D-Hop, MVS, Jamison Williams, Dotson, Marvin Jones, Odell, and then it's George Kittle and Hayden Hurst. So it's strong everywhere.
Real strong.
It's strong everywhere.
And especially, Kittle's the focus at tight end, but you should get Hurst back next week, so get even stronger.
Yeah. And I clearly got locked out at stacking Allen on this team, but still, I mean, his rushing upside alone, you don't always need him to.
Which low-key, isn't that working?
Yeah.
Diggs has obviously had a good season, but and I'm not, we could get next week. It could happen. I mean, they play the Bears. They play the Bears next week, so they're going to score some points. But it could be he keeps spreading it around / running / whatever. Right? Naheem Hines catches the touchdown. Dawson Knox, Quentin Morris. They spread. They're like, we don't view them like this, but they're really kind of like the Chiefs. Diggs is kind of their Kelce.
Yeah.
And except he plays wide receiver. And everybody else is like, maybe you'll get a Gabe touchdown. Maybe you'll get a McKenzie touchdown, Knox, whatever. It's legit possible. Josh Allen could be the highest scoring quarterback in week 17, and you don't even really want to stack him. It's legit possible.
Yeah, I mean, but that was always like kind of my thesis of Josh Allen, where I wasn't going nuts stacking him in the sense of like trying to get 2 or 3 stacking partners. If I only got 1, I was generally fine with that, especially cost was heavy on the 2 guys you wanted the most.
Yep.
So, if I just got Stephon Diggs, if I just got Gabe Davis, it was fine. And then I didn't go out of my way ever to get Knox or to get any of the other guys because I'm not gonna reach when I know last year, week 17, he scored 2 rushing touchdowns,
Mhm.
right? So as long as he spreads the ball around on the other 2 he throws, like, you're good. Just to make you happy, I do have a Jonathan Taylor, Trey Lance team advancing as well.
I have a Cup Pitts team advancing on underdog. That's like what a kick in the dick. It's like congratulations on your $50 or whatever. Now here's this team you get to tout advance rate. I guess that's the only perk of it. It's like it's so stone dead in week 16 that's not even funny. But when you get McKinnon, Zay Jones, and Mahomes on the team, you can get through Cup and Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if Taylor gets back, I'm guessing he's not. I'm guessing he's done for the year, but
I would assume they shut him down. Yeah.
you have to, right? But it's kind of funny to get. It just shows you that, like, no matter who you draft, you can still get them through. Hell, your Cooper Cup team, yeah, it sucks you lost Cup, but it was still like everything else around it is still great. I still think it has
Really
a chance
good.
to get you. Like, you're still live for the finals on that team.
100% live for the finals, and then going to be a big dog in the finals. But I mean, it has an Eagles onslaught. It has Tony Pollard, right? It has Mark Andrews. It has juice. It has it's Eagles and Jags, right? It's a Hurts on. It's an Eagles onslaught, and then Kirk, Zay, Lawrence with Mark Andrews. It's like if the Jags do what they do, I mean, there's a reason it scored almost 200 points on DraftKings this week without Cooper Kupp. So like anything can fucking happen, man.
I'll be rooting for that team heavily next week.
I'm rooting for those small, again, like your big dog team and like those smaller field tournament teams are, I think, the most fun to root for because, you can't win $2 million. That's technically, I guess, the most fun thing to root for. But like, we know that's like a big pipe dream. The like small field stuff is like, dude, every time you advance, you are like significantly more live. Like you're because you get to the final and it's no holds barred. Anybody can win in that final round when it's a really, really small group of teams.
Yeah, definitely. It's the smaller field ones are the ones that I need to start doing a little more of next year. I mean, I'm still going to probably definitely max out BBM and stuff like that, but maybe we relax on some of the puppies and we put some of those funds, not completely, but we put some of that funds into, another couple big dogs, maybe some of those higher stakes DK stuff.
Yep. All right. Let's close her out with some week 16 way too early takes. The first thing 100% that came to my mind, we talked about the Jags. That's a big one on the negative side, where they were a big advance rate team, period, because they just really outperformed. And then they really outperformed this week, mainly Lawrence and Zay. And now, if you were able to get through without Jaguars, I think that's a team like I would be actively rooting, like legit rooting for. I might be biased because my best team has Travis Etienne, so it's not like it doesn't have Jags, but he's a different Jag, I guess. So at least I can root for, them to not be totally dust, but Etienne to score some touchdowns. But the Jags are like a scary thing to have to depend upon. I mean, KJ Osborne, if you KJ Osborne was more of a how do you get some better players through, like you said, but I certainly would not be hoping to count on KJ Osborne. That was the flukiest of all games ever. One busted coverage on a long catch, and then they're down by 33 at halftime. I don't suspect that that's going to happen again here. So,
but if you're able, he hit his thesis though. That's the thing, is the thesis of drafting KJ Osborne, at least for me, was I know he's going to get 1 or 2 spike weeks in the season at some point. I pray I get him through, and I hope it's in the playoffs.
Yep.
And boom, it happens week 15. And you know what?
It's beautiful.
If you have KJ Osborne on your team and he does nothing for you the next 2 weeks, you can't be mad.
Doesn't matter. 100%. He is like, so it's like the wide receiver Eno Benjamin if Eno had done it in week 15 instead of whatever week 6 or whatever he did it in. You know what I mean? Like, even if you still have Eno teams, you're like, I don't know, he did his job. You know, it sucks that he's not a thing right now, but he helped me get here. This is the whole point. Now, it's a little, like you said, it's a little different. It's more impactful in week 15. But that's the whole point. I mean, that's why this game is fun. It's like, why did you attach KJ Osborne to your Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson stack? That's fucking why. Yesterday is like literally that's the whole thesis behind the play. Like you said, now he did his part. Now your other 6, 7, 8, whatever wide receivers, now it's their time, right? You got 2 weeks. It's their time to do it.
Yeah. So Minnesota against the Giants at home is still
a good matchup though. Like, but I mean, theoretically, KJ Osborne could have another good week. The Giants defense stinks. So like it's not over, and non-Justin Jefferson teams are not going to feel awesome next week. Let's just say that much. He should really do whatever he wants against the Giants.
Yeah, and Narrative Street. So I had to do the Saturday DFS show, and I was on with Tasteful Tides, Tim. And
love Tim.
He's a great guy. He was fading Justin Jefferson on single entry stuff, and I was like, bro, I understand the thesis, but Narrative Street, they want him to get 2K receiving yards. I know they want him to get 2K. So I think you're going to see a lot of targets to Justin Jefferson over the next 3 weeks, hands down. It's like what? He has to average like 120 a game to do it or something like that.
Yeah, which doesn't he average more than that already? Like it's basically he just has to beat Justin Jefferson moving forward. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to do anything. But Brad says I feel like this is what everyone's feeling right now. Is like
these are the worst.
You have these teams. It's like this team is awesome. You might have liked this team heading into the week, right? You've been tracking it. It goes off. You got Zay or you got McKinnon or whatever, and you go look it up. You know, it's obviously only one team advances in BBM. And you go look, and there's some asshole with 194 points in your pod. And you go look at your other pods where your team has 85 points. The team's dead, right? Has no quarterback or whatever. And the advancing team has like 115. It's the most miserable feeling ever.
It sucks. And it sucks during the regular season when you're going into the playoffs. I had one that was like, it would have advanced in every single other one that I was in. And it was a sick team. But because of the matchups, I missed out on the playoffs by like a smidgen of points. And you're like, I really would like to get that one through. So yeah, I feel for you. That sucks. But if you play enough volume, you're on the opposite end of that, where you're putting through a 120 score and you're like, how in the world did I get in this pod that this team's getting through? It all balances itself. It never feels like it balances itself. It's like in poker when you're talking about like coin flip hands. It's like I never win 50% hands. Like you actually win them 50% of the time. It literally doesn't feel like it. Right?
You never remember any game. This is all gambling, right? Even when you run pure on the wins, you actually probably remember the tilt that took you to the situation where you ended up running, right? That you won a tournament, you won a poker tournament running pure on a couple of hands, but you remember, you're like, well, it would have been easier if so-and-so hadn't sucked out on me, whatever, 2 hours ago. In DFS, it's the same thing. Like, well, I would have won. It would have been over if so-and-so wouldn't have dropped that touchdown, in the second quarter, whatever. It's like, well, so-and-so, it's like the Bengals today. It's like, well, the Bucks fumbled like 3 times in the second half. The Bengals really weren't doing anything on offense. They kind of got lucky, blah, blah, blah. Well, nobody ever remembers that. You only remember the negative. So it always feels worse than it is. But yeah, it averages out. And I think just to kind of piggyback on that with something somebody shared in the Discord today, I think it was Liam. It could have been Felix also, but for those of you who don't know, at
somebody
Liam,
rich
won Best Ball Mania 2 last year, and I believe he's at Crying Buffalo on Twitter, but Felix Castro at Felix in our Discord. They both advanced. Liam didn't advance a ton of teams. Felix advanced a ton of teams, but I believe either Liam said it or someone else said it, that his team just so happened in week 16 to get into like a really low scoring pod. the team that won BBM2. It actually wasn't very good in week 16 relative to, good week 16 teams. And he just got lucky. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's how it goes. And Felix's team that won the DK Millie was like one of his worst teams in week 16 as well. And just, it sneaks in, and that's how it goes. So it is the game that we play. We're better. We're much better off with it being structured this way, even though sometimes the tilt is very real.
I got one thing to say to the chat. I like seeing your scores. The one thing about seeing your scores is I think you need to tell us if it's DK or underdog, because it really changes the complexion of the team. Like a 185 team on underdog right now is bonkers, whereas like a 185 team on DraftKings is fine.
Good, but of course it's good, but it's not like 185 on underdog. If you lose with 185 on underdog, that I give you permission to tilt that one. If you lose with 185 on DK, it sucks because you had a really good team, but it's not quite as bad. If you lose in like I have like 189 on my 555 team, it's six people. You score almost 200 in a 6-person contest, you're probably a little bit good, but the millie and stuff, 12, 16 people, whatever the hell it is, there's going to be good teams.
So going back to the week 16 stuff, and we're looking at matchups, and obviously we all have Kansas City players that are getting through, but Seattle kind of puked on themselves this week. We lose Tyler Lockett. Getting Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf through, and maybe you're Noah Fant. Those teams might be pretty fun if you got some of those going on.
I agree.
That might be a fun team to have, especially Kenneth Walker, which luckily is on the big dog team. Maybe I'm just wish casting, but it's in Kansas City, right? That game next week,
Correct.
Seattle. Correct. So yeah, I would love to see Kansas City give up some big running plays to Kenneth Walker. If they're going to do it to anyone, it's going to be him.
Good time to have those, as Brandon has Kelsey Mahomes teams. Kelsey, Mahomes, DK Metcalf, MVS, Ken Walker. Those are fun, pretty damn fun teams to have for week 16.
Because Kenneth Walker didn't fully bust this past week, but he didn't
10 points.
Yeah, it was like 9.9, I think. He's not the reason you advanced the team. So there's probably a lot of teams that tanked because of something like that. So Kenneth Walker is going to be a lot of fun. DK is going to be immensely fun to have if you have DK Metcalf on a team.
Big time.
Because Lockett, conflicting reports, but it sounds like he's not back anytime soon, if at all this year, with the broken finger. So getting those two guys through, getting Fant through. Geno Smith isn't on a lot of teams to begin with. And if you have Geno Smith, he's either part of a three quarterback committee, or he's already with Mahomes or Hurts or something like that. Right. So he doesn't matter quite as much. He doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to have him, but having some of those weapons would be a lot of fun. And it's condensed. It's going to be so condensed. I think they're just going to try to run until they start to get the doors blown off them. But
yeah,
they're
look at the Texans today. The Chiefs defense is not great. So anything can happen. Texans took the Chiefs to overtime. Crazy stuff.
Are you excited about the way they've played the last 2 weeks, and mostly for week 17, where if you're getting your Jacksonville guys through, then Houston can hang with them enough to push them? Is that something you're looking at? Yeah,
I think so. Definitely against Jacksonville. That's a bad defense. As crazy as it sounds, this little experiment of Driscoll and Davis Mills combo, I don't know what it is. It's put some life into their offense. It does bring, Driscoll's, he's not like some good passer, but it's not like, the teams used to go Wildcat, right? And when teams still do go Wildcat, when your guy can't throw, is literally useless. It's the dumbest shit you could ever do. Now that NFL defenses have figured it out. But when you have a guy who still can pass, but he's basically a Wildcat quarterback like Driscoll is, it does put your defense on edge, and then you do have a little bit better passer in Davis Mills to kind of like, it just throws you off. You know, the defense has to prepare for a lot. And like, I don't know. I just feel like this little rinky dink high school shit that they're doing is kind of like keeping them alive and helping make them kind of competent on offense. And that's all you need, because the defense clearly stinks. So like, if they can just go score 21 on everybody, I mean, my God, it is absolutely wheels up on every stack against them, or every player against them.
Another fun player for week 16 that could be a good leverage point. I thought he was done after last week. I thought he was done for the season. Is DJ Moore. So Carolina gets Detroit next week in Carolina. DJ Moore, Amon-Ra bringbacks, tons of fun. I mean, just having DJ Moore get through would be a lot of fun. One of the last two guys out of my lineup today on a single entry. Sad times to pull him. But yeah, I think DJ Moore could be one of those leverage points that we were talking about.
Low owned player, mega target share, mega target share. Really two good matchups. Detroit and Tampa is not anywhere near the level of, Detroit, Houston, whatever, but DJ Moore can have a really good game against Tampa. If he has 102 or something against Tampa, I don't think anyone should be super surprised. Maybe a little surprised, but not like super surprised. So yeah, DJ Moore. Again, same thing as you. I'm kind of like probably wish casting, but I've got a few Donta Foreman teams that he had 10 yards. Donta Foreman had 10 yards against Pittsburgh. Now you go get Detroit. That feels like a spot where you have this 17th round pick or 18th round pick that can actually have some success in week 16. So excited for him too. What do you think about the Browns? So they get New Orleans, and I think New Orleans is generally kind of a positive matchup. They just got ran over by Algier and C-Pat and stuff. But then you also have like Kamara and Olave on the other side against a Browns team. That game's like kind of like sneakily like bad team shootout, that type of situation. You're like, what used to be like Jags Texans games before Lawrence and co got it together, like the really shitty teams, but they both have bad defenses and there's just enough juice on each side. Browns New Orleans was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, but who did you get through, right? Like who did you get through on New Orleans? Because it's got to be real tough to have a Kamara team that got through.
Yeah, because today was the day. Today was the day. Like if you would have got him through, it's because he should have gone for like 30 something today. He just didn't get any of the touchdowns.
I swear to God, every time they put him on a red zone, the Saints, he wasn't in the game, and I was losing my mind. I'm like, why is your best player off the field this much in a division game? I think they're still live for the spot too.
Correct. The Bucs lost again.
You're running David Johnson. Luckily he fumbled. Thank God, because that was earned. That New Orleans fumble was freaking earned by the way they were playing this game. And maybe it just was when they were cutting in and he still had like a huge snap percentage. I haven't looked at it too much yet, but the eye test was Kamara was never in the game, and it was driving me bonkers. So getting like Olave through is going to be tough. A little bit easier because he was a later round pick. Kamara is going to be real tough to get through. And on the Browns side,
Chubb laid another stinker. Amari laid a stinker. DPJ, I guess, maybe DPJ and Joku.
Yeah,
like that.
You might be able to get those guys through. I did have that one Chubb team. I already forget which one it is, but that team was going to be interesting. But that's going to be not the rule. That's going to be the exception. Having Chubb teams get through.
I mean, all my robust teams that we sat here either this time last week or in the shows we did during the week, all of my good robust teams are stone dust.
Yep.
I had like CMC, Chubb. There's one that's like CMC, Chubb, Aaron Jones. I had one that's like Saquon, Chubb, Miles Sanders, whatever. Just like every possible robust team that I had that was like looked really good is just dead, like so dead. Because I mean, Jerick McKinnon, Ramondre, Algier outscored all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like they lapped all those guys. So you're just it's going to be really interesting to see what teams look like next week in your pods, because I don't know how you get these, the Kamaras and the Chubbs and the Connors and the, even Dalvin had a really good game. How do you get him through? AJ Brown matched him. It's like, I don't know how you get those guys through.
You brought up the one that scares me the most out of everything, though. Like, the more I'm sitting here thinking about it, if a team in your pod has the Lamar Mark Andrews stack, I'm scared to death of that team. Like, literally, like that is like what I am squirming about right now. Like, just based off of how low owned it's going to be. And if I end up in one of those pods that they got through because they had Trevor Lawrence with Zay Jones and they snuck through Lamar with Mark Andrews, and like they did some sort of Evan Ingram double stack and totally a viable thing that could have got through.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to scare me to death, because I think every team I clicked on, for the most part, I didn't see any Lamars advancing on my end. So if you have a Lamar Andrews, or even if you just have a Lamar team in general, good luck, because that team's scary to everybody else in that pod that's sitting there with Mahomes and Hurts and all these other guys, and then you got this one outlier, and everyone in your pod just gonna collectively say the F word. Just like, come on, man! Like, why does somebody have them here? So that's going to be one of the scarier things for me.
I totally agree. Just scrolling the schedule really quickly. We talked about KC. Indy and the Chargers is another interesting game, although I'm not going to let myself feel anything positive about a Chargers game ever again. I will root for if I got Zach Moss through any of these teams. If we're going to load Zach Moss up with 24 carries against the Chargers without JT, I support it. But the Chargers, goddamn, man, just what a train wreck. Trying to see on the flip side of the
I'm lucky on the Chargers thing, because oh my God, I was just checking my Scott Fishbowl to make sure we made it through, and buddy, we did. Especially when I had KJ Osborne on my bench, I was worried, but we put up 182 in the Scott Fishbowl this week.
Nice.
With a -1 from Colt McCoy. So
yeah, he got hurt too. Cardinals are fucking cursed. They're gonna shut down, guys, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, the Chargers thing is nice, because I didn't want Keenan Allen. Mike Williams was super expensive, right? So I was a little nervous in taking Mike Williams. So like, my main guy is Gerald Everett, and great, I have Gerald Everett. Who cares? He was a 14th, 15th round pick. Maybe some Josh Palmer here and there, but I wasn't taking Khalil. I definitely wasn't taking Eckler. We liked the offense, but the entire offense was too expensive.
100%.
So like, that's why another team I am scared of is the Chargers, because if you got them through, then you could have some major leverage on teams, but they suck. So
yeah, I mean, I still would like to have, even despite today's performance, I still would like to have Mike Williams on teams.
No, of course.
And so he's agreed that I doubt I will have him on any advancing teams. I haven't gone through him, but if you're going up against him, he's the guy that can do that. 7 for 120 and 2 on any given week and just freaking bury you.
You know what everyone wants to know is how many Gabe Davis teams you're getting to week 16.
Oh shit, that is a great question. Let me look.
That's what the chat wants to know. They haven't said it, but I can feel it inside of them that they want to know.
First team we pull up that's advancing on Underdog, Gabe Davis. Mm-hmm. Team number 2. No. Okay, so we're 1 for 2. 1 for 2. Oh, not on the. Okay, we're not gonna. If I'm not able to sweat Gabe Davis for the rest of the playoffs, what the fuck is the point of this whole baseball season? Next 3 teams do not have him, and like I said, I have 5 advancing. So 2 for 5, 2 out of 5 Gabe Davis teams. Now, I don't know. Some of those might fall out. Something else might pop in, but as of right now, two teams. I do have Gabe on. I think both of my higher stakes DK teams. So I'll still be sweating Gabe, but we're dwindling. The Gabe teams are dwindling, and they keep waiting for the big game, and it continues to not happen. So if Diggs is going to keep having bad games, can Gabe pick up some of that production? Not like fucking Quentin Morris.
I was
that would
watching
be really nice.
I was watching the names last night because again I had to watch it on a Nintendo in order to keep track of the games, and I'm like, who the hell is Quentin Morris? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what is happening with Josh Allen? And then who else got one? Someone else got
Knox,
one.
Nyheim Hines.
Nyheim Hines was probably the one I was thinking. I was like, oh
yeah,
my God, the Nyheim Hines people are getting freaking bailed out.
One touch. He had one touch. Eight fantasy points, one catch for 10 yards and a touchdown. I think I only remember it because I used his score on some teams that I was scrolling through.
Justin's asking 5 of 150. What is a good ratio first year playing? I mean, that's what me and you are both advancing as well.
5 into the semis? Yeah, hell yeah. I think if you advanced multiple teams into, I haven't like gone back and, I certainly haven't done case studies on it or whatever to see what a good second round advance rate is. But like you said, both of us have 5 out of 150 going into the semifinals. I don't think you can expect much more than that. Sure, you could run pure on some player takes and get more. Last year, I don't think Felix is here, but I can ask him. He got maybe 15 or something like that into the second round, and he literally could not have possibly crushed player takes any more than he had the best player takes of all time last year. He got 80 out of 150 through in advancing on DK, and I think he got 15 into the semifinals. So
but it's
you
so
get 5
variant because I got more than that into the second round of DK. I think I had 20 or somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And all my teams got wiped on DK after the first round. When we got into that second round, or I guess it's technically the third round, whatever you want to call it, based on whoever you're talking to at the time, they got wiped. And I think I've told the story before. I wasn't even tracking my underdog team. So I was like, because I had so much on DK that I was like, oh, if I win anywhere, it's going to be DK, right? And then I go over to underdog. I drafted one puppy team that made the finals. And then I drafted only 20 something BBM teams, and one of those made the finals. And I'm like, how crazy is that swing? But the other thing that's crazy is me and you both max BBM this year. If this holds what we have right now, we both advanced 32 teams, and we'll both be advancing 5 to the third round.
Yeah.
That's silly. That's weird. Just some weird stuff.
It is. Like I said, I think I said this whenever one of the million shows we've done together. We need to stop with all these shows. We can keep doing Spike Week shows, but there's some sort of fucking mind meld going across the country where all this stuff has to sync up. I was just trying to count my DK teams. Obviously, this is all tournaments, not just the DK Millie. But DK is looking better for me right now. About 14 advancing teams across all tournaments on DraftKings, and again, five BBMs advancing, but not much. I'm not really. I might get another team or two through in other tournaments, but so just call it 200 teams on each site that we were talking about, and 20 to 25 total teams. So 400 down into 25 teams for the semifinals. So whatever math, so if you have 150 and you got 5, that's pretty much the same rate that we're talking about here.
Do you want a fun sweat for one of my DK teams? I am down.
Is it actually fun, or is
I'm down 0.5, right? So I'm down 0.5, and I have a score of 4.4 from Jonnu Smith, and I have Tunyon going tomorrow.
You're down what?
I'm down 0.5. Half a point. I need basically 5.
5 points from Tunyon.
5 points from Tunyon tomorrow on DK, so it's full point PPR in order to advance this team.
The last guy I would like to rely upon, even you shit on Zach Wilson repeatedly this morning when we did the DFS show. I think I would rather rely on Zach Wilson than Aaron Rodgers tomorrow. throwing it to my guy. That dude, the Packers are just like totally dysfunctional.
They're gross, but I mean, he could catch 1 for 5 yards and a touchdown, and I get in. Like, that's who Tunyon is.
That's the nice thing, though, at least, is like you're just drawing to a touch. Obviously, you want volume and stuff, but like you're just drawing to a touchdown. So,
oh my God, Matt Ballinger with the worst beat, of all time.
Hold on, Matt says for the audio listeners coming in late, are we still tilting? We're always tilting, Matt. Just to be clear, I'm like excited about the amount of teams and stuff I got through, and I can't stop tilting like a couple of little things here and there. So you're on the right channel. Needed 0.4 points from Ramondre in overtime, but they decided to not play for OT. ... Hand over face emoji. I mean, that clearly, we could say, oh, you needed OT to advance, but like you were literally a lock for overtime. It's like, take a knee, fucking get out of there and go to overtime. And Ramondre's going to get 0.4 in overtime. That's easy. Like that was not even a sweat.
Refresh your thing, though, if you haven't, because I'm not sure if you're saying you need a 0.4 after the last play, because I think I looked at it real quick and I could be wrong, but he was the first ball carrier, so he should have got the yardage on that play. So there's a chance if right? Isn't that how it works? If you're the first player with the ball,
no.
you get the yardage.
So the original like actual football rule is the last person that has it gets the yardage. But if I want to say, I looked this up maybe a year or two ago, and I'll have to look it up again because I'm definitely going to misspeak. They changed that to like divvying up yardage or something. I forget. I have to go look at the rule book. They fucked it all up like the NFL does with all these stupid things. So I'm not sure about how the yardage works. To your point.
Yeah. Well, week 16 is going to be a lot of fun, and it's
I'm really excited.
Even I don't know if it's going to be more tilting, because like I feel like as long as we get a team or two each through, we're stoked, right? As long like
yes.
that's the goal. You draft 5 to 6 to 7 to 800 teams, and you're like, I just want one. I just want one, maybe two, to get through and play for the championship. I mean, you're focused on the 5-5-5, which makes a ton of sense. I'm focused on the big dog, which I think I'm real live to make that with Pete. And if we make that, we might have to. I know he's real busy having a kid and everything.
Real busy napping on the couch.
Yeah, just having baby disasters while he's trying to draft. Yeah, what an excuse. But maybe we can figure something out to do something with him if we make that team to the finals. I don't know. Figure it out.
Shout out Pete, and as we're getting out of here, to wrap that up, I do think it's important what you just said. Everybody's like, oh my God, so many of my teams just died. Maybe I didn't draft even as much volume as you or I did. And like, neither of us are like the biggest volume drafters on the planet. There's dudes out there like, shout out Paul in the chat, right? Eagles, all these guys draft more teams than us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're getting, like, just say each of us are getting 20 teams or whatever into the I'm just using round numbers.
Yeah.
20 teams into the semifinals. I mean, even then the odds are we may get one team to the finals in any tournament, right? You pray it's in a tournament where you can make a lot of money, but like that's just how it works. Your whole season. This is why we talk so much about like building to win these tournaments, building for week 17, building for the playoffs, all that kind of stuff, because your whole season ends up being decided by one team, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Like it sounds like that. You're like, what do you mean? No, I'm going to advance a bunch of teams. Yeah, but like advancing is like you don't even double your money. So like you need to advance, so a good advance rate, let's just say, is 25%, and you don't double your money on that 25%. If you don't make the semifinals on any team, you got dusted. You lost a bunch of money, right? Then even if you make the semifinals on 20 teams, you, depending upon the stakes at which, those tournaments were, you still probably lose money on your best ball portfolio. You got to make the finals and do some damage in the finals to make anything even remotely considering that would be considered as significant money. So like the whole thesis of the fact that we stream best ball drafts 3 times a week, 365 days a year, whatever, is for in 2 weeks from now to have one team. One team. That's it.
Yep.
That's all I want is one. That's it.
Just to have that sweat, just for that week 17 sweat. We'll be singing the shanty a lot that week, having that going. But yeah, week 17, and it's all that matters. And just getting 1 or 2 through to that is all that matters. And it gives you the other good thing is it gives you something to lock in on. Like this is what I'm rooting for. Like, who the hell knew what you were really rooting for? Like, obviously, I was rooting for Mahomes and stuff because I had a high advance rate on him. Didn't realize that Kittle was my second most advanced tight end, even more so than Kelsey, because I just assumed
realized
it was
real
Kelsey.
Quick after he got his second touchdown. I'm sure. Yeah,
Tanyan's my number 1 somehow, and it's not even like I was going nuts drafting him. Just so that shows you how the variance lies, where it just worked out where Tanyan was like the guy I mean, I had a decent amount of them, but it's not like I had an insane weight on them. And then you're like, oh shit, I have more Kittle. It was 16% versus 15% for Kittle and Kelsey. It's probably the difference of one team, but I didn't think I had that much Kittle getting through.
Right. You wouldn't expect that still. You wouldn't expect more Kittle than Kelsey.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a fun week 16. It's gonna be even more heartbreaking than this one. But if you are in week 16 and you do get a team through, focus on that positive. Do not focus on the teams that die. Focus on the ones that get through. If they all die, I understand. It sucks. It's going to be the worst. And we all run the risk of it. And we're all going to be real sad if you don't make a final, especially if you drafted, a decent amount of teams. But yeah, find the positive. Find the positive in life.
And on that note, to close, for anyone feeling exactly what Rob just said, last year, I literally started a best ball, website, company, or whatever. All my teams, personal, individually drafted teams, got dusted off in week 16. Actually had a pretty good advance rate, had some pretty good teams, was heavy on a lot of the league winners, Cup, Andrews, Debo, JT, etc. And I lost. Every single team in week 16 did not advance an individually drafted team into the finals. And then the Sunday night football game in week 16 was basically the team that Pete, who Rob has a really good team with this year. Apparently Pete's our lucky charm. You need to bring that motherfucker around a lot more often. Pete and I drafted a team that had a Cowboys stack that went absolutely ham on Sunday night football last year and advanced us into the best ball finals with a really, really fun and live team. And so I had half of a team, I had one half of a team advanced to week 17, and we got 8th in Best Ball Mania 2. So, you're listening to this and you're like, oh God, I only have a couple teams left, or I only have one team left. It's all you need, man. A chip in a chair, and most people, even way better drafters than me, are going to lose. It is what it is. We get one weekly shot right at all this. And so my takeaway is like, just enjoy it, man. Watching Jerick McKinnon score 30 points was awesome today. Watching Zay Jones, watching Tony Pollard, right? Watching Ramondre, who we didn't even know was going to play, go for 130 and a touchdown or whatever. This is fun. This has been the most fun couple of weeks for sure for me.
Can I say one more thing just about the Jerick McKinnon thing? People harp on not being super overweight on your round 18 pick or round 17 pick. They're not going to have that same thought if Jerick McKinnon was your round 18 pick, right? So if I had decided that it was McKinnon and not Dearness Johnson, I mean, we'd be victory lapping the field right now, of course. So I still think that's going to be another discussion we have next year. But I just, just to put in the back of everyone's brain that
if I had not been a coward, I did take quite a bit of McKinnon.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know, double the field for sure on McKinnon. If I hadn't been a coward, probably my 2 favorite late round running back picks, I will say Dearness was in there for sure for me as a late round running back pick. But to your point, I fell victim a little bit to this, and we will talk about this in the offseason. When you have truly strong conviction on something like one of these guys, I don't think people make that blanket statement of the late round picks are really, and I did it last year with Darrington. I think it's possible I psychologically had cold feet on doing it with Darrington. And I did it with like Darrington and P. Ryan and stuff last year. And so I think it's possible I hedged my bets this year inappropriately. But it was Jerick McKinnon and Donta Foreman were my two guys that I was just like, these are why are these guys 18th round picks? It still doesn't make sense to me. It never made sense to me, but I kind of hedged my bets. And like last year, I don't really regret it because shout out Darrington. He's like, it was a brand thing. But like this year, I like truly regret it from like you were a coward. You backed down, you gave in to the diversification conversation. And so it goes both ways. It easily goes both ways. And I think it's a lot more potentially, in-depth conversation than people will make it out to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have so many discussions to have in the off season. It's going to be a lot of fun starting in, February or whenever we start having them. Some of the stuff we have planned coming up next year, short form, long form, strategy videos. It's going to be so many topics that we learned from this year and the year before, how we're going to approach the next few years. I hope everyone stays with us, gets excited for next best ball season, which will be dropping right away when it's done with week 17. Those big board drafts will be there. Those are fun because of what you see after you go back, 8-9 months later, and you're like, this is who people were drafting? These guys? Like Will Fuller? I mean, we drafted him all off season. You might
shout out Jarrett Patterson. Jarrett Patterson, my highest owned running back in the big board.
Good stuff. All right. I'm good to get out of here. How about you?
Let's do it. We will see you guys next week. Hopefully sweating, tilting, something fun. Teams heading into the best ball finals. Your teams, but selfishly, Rob and I's teams. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Peace.